Hello and welcome back to the EyeStorm Live Lounge, where we talk to inspiring and interesting people about matters for women in the UK and globally. Today I'm talking to Monica Norley and her mission to help women and children with albinism in Uganda, and how she's running a marathon in Scotland to raise funding for their school fees. Hey, Monica Norley. Hello, good morning. How are you? Thank you for joining me.
Hello, I'm doing well. Thank you, Mi. Thanks for having me.
Monica, you are a business mentor. You are a passionate advocate for women's development in general. You travel to Africa quite a lot, but today we're not too far away from each other. We're both in Hove, aren't we?
Yes, just down the road.
So we're going to talk about your marathon for school fees in Uganda. But first of all, I want to hear a little bit more about you. Who are you, Monica? Where did you come from? Tell us a little bit more about you. For those who don't know you, I know a lot of people know you from our Mama Mzungu project and the EyeStorm interviews we've done before. But let's tell people who haven't met you before a bit more about you.
Sure, thank you. Well, my name is Monica Norley, and I'm American. I've lived in the UK, however, for almost 19 years. I've worked in the area of women's economic empowerment for going on 30 years, which probably dates me quite easily. I've been doing this for a very long time. Because I'm in the UK now based, I find myself going primarily to the African continent, teaching women business, all aspects of business, helping them with worker-owned cooperatives, setting up cooperatives, co-op development. And I also had a fair trade bath and body care company here in the UK for 10 years, producing natural soaps and selling to a wide variety of retailers and fair trade stockists. So my work also in Africa gives me opportunities to teach women natural soap making and help them set up those kinds of businesses, because it's actually still quite a viable kind of industry and income generating activity for women there.
We actually met through a project, and I traveled down to Uganda to meet you. We hadn't even met before in real life. And you were then teaching women with albinism in Uganda how to make soap. Tell us more about that.
Well, I initially went to Uganda in September 2018. A friend of mine, he and I had met at a networking event in London some years ago, and he watched my work from afar. And he travels to Uganda quite often, and he had met some of the women in the community affected by albinism. And he kept telling me, Monica, please come to Uganda someday and do a soap making training with this group of women. And of course, I knew a bit about the plight of people affected by albinism before I went to Uganda. I had done some reading, some research. I had watched some documentaries. I had a bit of an idea, so I didn't go in completely unawares. But I had no idea where this was going to go. I was only going to go in September 2018 to do an initial soap making training. We did a crowdfunding campaign to get me there and to buy our raw materials and some soap molds and mixing bowls, etc. And I went there and did an initial training with them. And I had no idea where it was going to go, but it has a very interesting story now.
We could say that you just fell in love with these women because they were amazing and super productive, very capable, and basically proved every myth wrong about albinism in Africa. I didn't realize, obviously, it's hard to actually imagine how difficult it is for some people with albinism in certain countries in Africa, because they're surrounded by very old, ancient myths about albinism. Give us a quick introduction to what that can be.
Well, sure. Well, albinism is just simply a genetic condition. It happens in all types of flora and fauna across the world. We see people in this part of the world walking around, they have albinism. We don't really think anything of it. But for some reason in Africa, particularly East Africa, there seems to be a large amount of discrimination, oppression, stigmatization, a lot of physical and sexual harm that can come to these people. Unfortunately, witchcraft is still very embedded in a lot of African culture still, unfortunately. And there's just ridiculous beliefs around body parts and using locks of hair, having sexual intercourse with women with albinism, um, believing that they're on one hand a good luck charm, on another hand they're a bit of a curse. So there's just lots of ignorance around this condition, and it brings with it a lot of harm. People with albinism, or affected by albinism, I should say, are not really ever given jobs or opportunity at employment, certainly not on the job training, which is what our social enterprise, what I'm going to explain, provides. And so they're basically seen as unproductive members of society, having not any more value than a stray dog literally in the street. So a lot of people just with albinism, with the condition, will stay in their houses. You can imagine if you're in a very rural part of a country, very isolated, you literally don't even come out of your home. Certainly don't go to school. But when I met these women in 2018, literally on day one, they were fighters. And I think that's one thing, I've said it many times before, but I think that's one thing about people who are marginalized. You can either behave in one of two ways. You can either shun away from society and let society dictate and hide in your house and never come out, or you can come out swinging and wanting to show what people or your community or society, what you're capable of. And these women had that right ingredient, that element in them. They had the personality of the group was very harmonious. They were fun. They were hungry to show me what they could do. And yeah, I fell in love with them. And I thought, after 30 years of working with all different kinds of groups of women around the world, if there was any group of women, and I never thought I would have a soap company again. I promised myself I would not do that, that I would just teach it. But after I met them, I knew that if there was anyone I was going to commit to long-term, professionally, on a working basis, it had to be this particular group of women.
They are just amazing, the women. I got to know them. I felt very privileged to get to know them well and become friends with them. And we all feel a lot of respect, obviously, but because they have been so productive, and they are humorous, they are funny, they're incredibly kind and caring. And of course, what happens is that they start looking after other people who need help. So what has happened with the little group of women you first taught?
Because working with this marginalized group of people, as many people watching this can probably imagine, that you're trying to launch and grow a social enterprise, but you've also got a community that has all of these various needs: medical, shelter, the way society treats them, needing to be fed, etc. And yes, the more the business started to grow, then we became more and more increasingly on people's radar. So that, on one hand, was good, because the whole mission of the NGO is to change the image. And certainly that is what the goal of, one of the many goals of Mama Mzungu is to, job creation and self-reliance and economic empowerment, but to also play a very huge role in changing how society views these women. And so as the business grew, we just started to attract more and more people to us. And so what that meant is that we became this shining beacon for people with albinism, particularly families. For example, let's say a baby was born in a community and the family didn't have the financial means, or they themselves as parents had all of these misbeliefs. They didn't want the kid, they wanted to abandon it, leave it. And so quite literally over the years, we've had children brought to our gate and just dumped, left. We only had a few children around at the beginning, and now we have in our immediate center 20 kids. So it's been difficult trying to juggle the social needs but also grow a business.
So what is your plan? Why are you hooking up with a Loch Ness monster?
Yeah, well, a couple of years ago, I turned 50, and I decided that I wanted to take myself off to Scotland on a road trip with my dogs, and just do something for myself because I don't do that very often. And I went to Scotland and I fell in love with the place. And I drove around Loch Ness on that trip, which is stunning. If anyone hasn't been to Scotland, you better go. And then I wanted to go back to Scotland last year. So I set up a goal for myself I just found it online that there was a marathon taking place every October called the Loch Ness Marathon. So I trained for it the best that I could, even though I had lots of trips to Africa in between, and they give me lots of food when I go. It's really hard to train for a marathon with all the travel. But I went last October and I ran it. My time wasn't great. It was grueling. There's a 2-mile hill in the middle of it. It was damn hard, but I did it. And looking back on it now, I could have used the opportunity to actually fundraise for Wackwell then. But I just it didn't occur to me for whatever reason. So this year I'm going back again. Personally, I want to better my time. So I have some personal ambitions and goals around it. But I'm very determined to raise £5,000 if I can for these 20 kids who are in the immediate care of the NGO there. Our kids are all in school now. So I don't want anyone to think that they're not getting an education. All of our kids are in school, and Doreen and Diana work very hard. We always find the money somehow, but I'm always having to fundraise for it. And it's very difficult, aside from keeping everyone fed and their medical needs, etc. This thing with school fees is just something that I'm determined to tackle. So that is why I've chosen it's my own ambition to raise this money for the next academic year.
How can people donate money?
Yeah, I've set up a Just Giving campaign, which I've shared across various social media channels, if you can share it on here somehow. So people have started to contribute. I've literally broken it down into, it will be £190 per mile ran. So mile number 1 has been sorted, has been raised, and now I'm on to, I think I'm £90 short of mile number 2. So, but when you break it down into 20 kids, £5,000 for 20 children for a whole academic year, that includes room and board, because oftentimes our kids with albinism need to go to a boarding school because they need to be somewhere that is safe with security, someplace they can sleep and they get, fed, and it needs to be someplace safe.
Yeah, because we need to remember that these children and adults as well have a high risk of being kidnapped for these strange reasons, that body parts and hair can be used for prosperity, which is really, really disgusting and horrible. So I remember you and Doreen actually had to go on a rescue mission once to save one of the children. So they need to stay at school a lot of the time to be protected. So these fees are covering a lot. So yes, if you're viewing this, go to the funding page, which you can see here and in the information next to this video. Do support the women and children with albinism in Uganda. Support Monica's cause. And yeah, we'll keep posting this obviously all the way up to October, but yeah, good luck with your run. Hope you get your time that you want as well. And if someone wants to buy soap, if someone wants the product,
please order. We have a website, www.mamamzungu, MZUNGU.co, not .com. So mamamzungu.co. Taking orders. You can do that. People can message me as well. One thing I want to say about education, we had 4 graduates from university last June when I was there, young people, well, in their early 20s now with albinism, that somehow we've supported to get them through university. And they came out with degrees in civil engineering, social work, social sciences to be a teacher, and electrical engineering. And so those 4 young adults with albinism, that's education is their ticket, hopefully, to having a future. It's not a guarantee, of course, but it helps. So, you know, we've got little ones. I think Ketra just started school. She's 5, up to 17, 18. So 20 kids across a varying age range that we need to see them through school.
We do.
But yes, order soap. Order soap.
Order
And we
soap.
want to create more jobs, because also the Mama Mzungu women, through their full-time pay, that also means then that they can assume, and they are, the school fees for their kids, and as well as paying for rent if they have a house, you know, medical care, things like that.
Yeah,
So
so
please
people
order.
can donate and become patrons as well
Yes.
through the Mama Mzungu page, right?
Yeah, we have a Patreon page. Again, we can, maybe if you can help me post that link, it's Patreon. Mama Mzungu, you should be able to find us quite easily on there. Happy that provides on-the-job training for a new woman that could come into Mama Mzungu, whether in Uganda or on the Tanzania side, and get in and start learning how to soap make, as well as sewing and weaving. So if women don't have those skills coming in, that is absolutely fine. We'll train her. So the Patreon page is great for that. Your monthly contribution would go towards, until the company is able to officially absorb her full-time.
But first of all, we're raising money for the children's school fees now through your running in October. So go to the funding page, justgiving.com, a crowdfunding whack wow. Donate any little helps. As we know, you know, we need to do this together to be able to reach the goal. So any little help, if it's £5 or £500 or £5,000, it's all equally welcome. It will build up, but we need to share it. So please share this video, share the link to Monica's fundraising, and let's do this together to support some children who might not have a future without the school. So it's just helping them have a better life in every single way. Brilliant. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Monica?
No, I'd just like to finish by saying, you know, this is something that I'm always having to go to people and fundraise constantly. And so it just feels like if I could do this, I'm training now, I'm running, you know, 3-4 days a week across the South Downs, and I'm in full training mode and I'm loving it. But it's just, if we could find this money, then that gives the organization and myself a bit of a breather, to be honest. Then we know that aspect of things, these kids are covered for another 12 months. And then assuming the next time it's the Loch Ness Marathon rolls around and I'm up for it, I might do it again. You know, it could become an annual affair. So let's see if we can do it.
Yeah, I mean, £5,000 might sound like a lot of money to raise for fundraising, but it is not in the bigger scheme. And together we can do it. We just need a lot of people who put in a little bit each.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Monica, for chatting today. Good luck with your running. Take it easy, and give all our love to the women. And hopefully, I'm hoping to have a chat with Doreen and Diana as well, so people get to meet them in, on video at least as well.
That's great. I really appreciate you, Mi. Thank you for all your support. Thank you.
Thank you for everything you do, Monica, and I'll catch you soon. Thank you for watching this video. Get in touch if you have any comments, any questions, just put it in the comment box below. We'll be back with another interview video chat in the live lounge soon. And in the meantime, go fund the children. Bye for now.